We're talking about, essentially we're talking about the Inyan HaKelim. We're talking about how the oiris are misyachadim, mislabish in the kelim. And the reason that the oiris are mislabish in the kelim is because of the pnimi quality in the oir. Meaning to say that the oir is mislabish in the kelim intentionally. Because it has this as its aim, and the only way that can be accomplished is through a keli, that's why it's mislabish in the keli. And this is why there is such a perfect union between the oil and the keli. Using the phenomenon of creation, we are going into to fully elaborate on this principle.
Are we dialed in?
No, we're not. We're dialed in. Paltiel.
Thank you. You are participant number 2.
Okay. So the koyach of creation is exclusively in atzmus, as we discussed yesterday and before. And this element of atzmus, this unique element of atzmus, is manifest, and it comes through the oir from atzmus. Oir of atzmus is representative of what atzmus is. Okay, so we are starting on the top line of Yud Gimel, the end of the line. The koyach ha'his havus hu be'atzmus dafke. With the koyach, that capability of his havus, of bringing things into being, from not being, is exclusively in atzmus. Ubo alidei ha'oir, and functionally it comes through the oir. The oir reveals atzmus, what atzmus is, and this is why the oir has this koyach to create. Omnom, however, me'oir atzmoi, from this oir in itself, harei iyev sheli es mitzius yesh. From there, it is impossible that there should be a mitzius yesh, a mitzius of a yesh. A yesh, as we discussed yesterday, mitzius yesh means something whose presence can be defined by the fact that it has a certain identity, a certain presence. That's Metzius Yesh. But the Oyer Eliki is not dependent on the presence in order to be present. And therefore, this is what's expressed in the word Havaya Echod, which means the Mitzah Shem Havaya, that from the perspective of Shem Havaya, Havaya and Elikim are names of which we refer to Atzmus of the Meibus. But Havaya and Elikim represent totally different aspects coming from Atzmus. Havaya that represents, that is an allusion to what to Atmos itself, what Atmos is. So from there, from that perspective, the worlds, even after that they were created and come into being, they're in a state of total bittul. Betachlis means to the extreme. The Indian from bittul is, again, it's one of those things that are quite elusive to understand. Bittul. The word bittul means nullification. But we're not talking about nullification, elimination of its presence. Even with its presence does not pose any kind of a dichotomy and a contrast to its source, as if there are two things. The Oilers have no presence whatsoever. The bittul betach is completely null from the perspective of the source from which that's created. V'hainu, which means to say the Meshem ve-atzmuto, that from the name Havaya itself, efshar liyos mitzias hayesh. It is impossible that there should be a mitzias of yesh, a mitzias of a presence, something that identifies itself as a yesh. Ve'alkein, and therefore, gam li'achar shenizhabu, even after already they came into being, hareihem betelim, they continue to be botel k'moi koidem shenizhabu, equally, exactly as before they came into being. Again, I mention again that the Indian from bittul, Mitzias hayesh and all that, that still will need to be attended at a more opportune moment. Just one thing that we did point out. He said Mitzias hayesh means to say that, that its mitzias, its presence, is identified, is based on the fact that it's a yesh, that it makes itself known, that its presence is recognized. That's a mitzias hayesh.
Which here means worlds.
I'm sorry?
That's going on worlds. They are.
This is that mitzias hayesh, and from that comes world. Then comes, say, the Hishtalshelus and so forth. The principle of mitzias hayesh means a mitzias that is that its presence is dependent on the fact that it is hayesh. Its presence, it makes its presence known. Such a Havaya, there cannot be such a mitzias. And this is extremely deep, and there's much There are certain things that we already mentioned that we can use to sense and to focus into this. One thing we mentioned recently, that in the Teva Ha'olam, in the natural world, there is the Ayin what's called gravity, especially the overall gravity, that everything falls downwards towards the earth. It appears as if the earth had a certain power to draw things to itself. You cannot ignore the earth. The earth is there, and the earth makes a claim for its territory and says, if you're here, you're going to come to me. This is the very principle of gravity and so forth. So we pointed out that the whole phenomenon of gravity is actually a direct reflection of what the creation is all about. The creation is that there is a divine desire that there should be a dira betachtoinim on in the lowest element. Therefore, tachtoinim, this is the basis of the entire creation, from a godly, from the highest perspective. Which is why everything tends toward the bottom. This is not the yesh of the creation. On the contrary, this is due to its bitul that it falls down. It's manifestation of the creating power, not its own nature. Clearly, there's much to reflect on this, but just at least a beginning to recognize that mitzad Elokus everything is bottled. It is only the Inyan Elokus. Okay, just a touch. So even after they created their B'teilim B'tachlis, even so, therefore there cannot be Mitzius of Yesh, a Mitzius that speaks of its own Mitzius, of its own presence. Rak Mishem Elikim, only from Shem Elikim, from the Inyan Holkus that is identified by the name Elikim. The difference in translation between the word Havaya and Elikim, Havaya means the source of being. Elikim is the master. Clearly there's a clear implication there. Source of being means this is the real being. Master means that it masters that which is there. So therefore, Elikim provides the ability that there should be something there, but it is the master of it.
Provides we said from Shemarai, Elikim is the master.
What?
Provides with the Shemarai and Elikim is the master.
I missed something. Shemavaya is what?
It is providing, and Elikim is the master, which is being after it's provided.
No. Shem Havaya does not provide for a Mitzias Yesh. As we will see, that Shem Havaya is mislabish in Shem Elikim. In other words, if the intent was only to reveal and manifest in for Shem Havaya, there would not be a Yesh. but because there is also Shem Elokim, that there should be the principle of masterhood. This is why the Elokus comes through in such a manner that it is completely b'tzimtzum, so that there would be somebody to be a master over. This is the effect of Shem Elokim. Shem Elokim, the Shemesh U'Mogen, Havaya Elokim. The Pasuk says that Havaya Elokim, these two names, have a relationship comparable to the Inyan from Shemesh U'Mogen. What is Shemesh U'Mogen? Shemesh means the sun. Mogen means that which conceals the sun. It protects it against the sun. Shemali Momastir al Shem Havai. The Shem Elokim conceals and hides on the Shem Havai. And from that, Yochel is Havas Hayesh. From that, this is what provides a possibility that there should be a presence of Yesh. It explains in Tanya that this Inyan of Shem Elokim that conceals the Shem Havaya, this is the Bechina of the Kelim. Shemastirim al ha'oir, which conceals on the oir. Okay, we'll have a chance to discuss this whole thing as we go. The Kelim that cover up on the oir. This is the Shem Elokim. And we already explained the principle of Kelim. That Kelim means that they conceal the infinity of Shem Havaya, of the Inyan from Havaya, and they reveal in a control, in a limited fashion, all kinds of different inyonim that come from Shem Havaya. As I said, we'll have a chance to really get into this again right now. Hooray! Which now we have come to the conclusion and recognize that the oiros affect according to the way the kelim are. This is why the kelim provide for the possibility that from oil shall come a yesh. Oil is not yesh, but the kelim take the oil and then allow the uniform yesh come. And that is why do the oiros act according to the way of the kelim? Because that the oiros are in the manner of tfisa, of grasp, because the oiros are truly mislabesh and truly imbue into the kelim. They are not there in a bypass manner. They deal with the kelim. They illuminate the kelim and the keli by keli parameters. Al kain, and this is why hakelim peyalim behoir. This is why the kelim have this effect on the oil. Liyois, and the effect is to the point, and liyois that there should be piyulas ha'oir, that the effect of the oil should be kifi oifen hakeli dafko, that the effect of the oil should be in the manner that the keli defines that effect. Fi oifen hakeli dafko. For example, in our own experience, you have a thought, and I'll go down to the lowest and the most and simplest, the most obvious element that is completely tangible. We have a certain setup in this room. There's a room, and we have a setup. You have tables, and the tables and chairs and so forth. In initial view of the room, there is an immediate projection that this room can provide for a convenient and a comfortable way of people interacting, or sitting and learning, whatever it may be. In that initial perception, even after that you have this initial perception, you still have to go down and identify, okay, there is definitely provision for how are we going to do it, how are we going to accomplish it. Accomplish it by have to bring in certain pieces of furniture. And then you have to set them up in a certain way. The setting it up in a certain way to the very last moment where the chair is sitting in the sofa. All of these things are not new creations at the moment when you need to sit. This is initially projected in identifying the room. But there, you didn't have all of these details. But you did have the principle that it has to be a convenient thing for a human being to sit. And that you projected right there in the very initial thought. Then, the general thought, it has to be convenient and so forth, is withdrawn, so to speak, and now you come into a practical level. And you say, it is proper that this table should stand here. It appears when you put the table down over here that it should stand here because the table feel comfortable in this place. But it's not true. It's not a question. It's not because of the end result of the table. Because if you put it in this place, it will be representative of your initial thought of making this a usable room.
It's not because.
Huh?
It's not because of what?
Not at the end, at the point where the place at the table wants to stand. But it is the initial thought of the usage of the room that eventually translates on the table being in this place. The table is like the keli for the overall concept, that there should be a place, a provision for the human being activity. And that I said, this provision, this keli, is a derivative of the initial provision. But in order to reveal the keli, you have to conceal the overall thing, and you have to reveal one principle. If this table stands here, it does not interfere with anything else, and you can sit by the table peacefully, and nobody is going to disturb you. You're not going to disturb anybody. So you can sit in comfort and peace in this place. It seems almost as an afterthought, but it's not an afterthought. This thought is contained in the initial view that there is provision for a comfortable place for the human being to learn. This which are the keli surfaces. Only when you're a master you conceal the overall oil. And now, when it comes down on the level of the keli, it appears as if it is the keli that created this whole convenience. And you forget about the room altogether. Like we said many times, put a table out in the street, but it give you the same comfort? No. But you forget about the room. You think by the table on a chair. Yes.
This was just said the keli surfaces. Is this to say, like, because of the tzimtzum or because of the or being mitzamsem, so automatically a keli comes about? Or I mean, we've said or comes from etzem. What's the origin of the keli? Did we say this?
Yes. We didn't say it, but here's the origin of keli. The origin of keli, we said before, is that the oil is an oil pnimi. Meaning to say this. And I'm not going to go very broad. This room has an intended function, as general as it is, as neutral as it is. It has an inherent aim and function to provide for human activity. It's not just a room that is just there for itself. This statement would be better understood if you go back to a few steps back. You say, hey, the land upon which the room stands, this land is wilderness.
I'm not sure if I'm getting what's being said here. The land was wilderness, and then it took on a specific function. So to
this fact that it took a specific function is because this function was inherent in that wilderness.
So is this to say that the keli is inherent within the original or?
Yes, everything that the keli reveals from the oil, everything, whether this becomes a residential area, or it becomes a commercial area, or it becomes whatever, anything that the keli reveals in the oil is inherently contained in the oil.
So we're really saying the or and the keli have the same origin. They're both from the ma'or.
Yes.
And light brings with itself kelim sort of within it.
Yes, but if you have just the light, you'll never see the keli.
So the kelim become apparent when light comes to a lower level.
The keli is the one that brings the oil to the lower level.
But again, keli is not some separate entity or having some kind of separate origin. It is.
It has a separate
within the
origin.
light. Oh.
It has a separate origin because that initially the light was there in order to provide light for a keli. This is why there is the keli and the light. The light. They say the lights are also pnimim. Okay, we have to. They both are rooted in atzmus, in kavonos or atzmus. It's not the keli is not an evolutionary process from the oil. Because in order for the oil to be established in keli, there has to be mitzamtzim. But the tzimtzum comes as a result of the keli. Okay, we have to interrupt. We have to be mitzamtzim right now. Have a great day. We'll pick up tomorrow, Mitchell. Late.
Yeah.